Some people don't get lonely when they're alone. They get clear. They step away from conversations not because they dislike people, but because too much interaction slowly overwhelms them. When the noise fades and there is no pressure to respond, react, or perform, their breathing slows down and their thoughts finally begin to organize. That moment of quiet does not feel empty to them. It feels like returning to a mental state where everything finally makes sense. I have observed that for these people, being alone is not an escape from life. It is a way of stabilizing it. Their mind works best when it is not constantly interrupted. When stimulation drops, their nervous system settles, their attention stops fragmenting, and their thoughts regain continuity. Instead of feeling disconnected, they feel grounded and mentally present. This sense of grounding is not accidental. It is the result of their nervous system finally operating within a comfortable range of stimulation. Many people misunderstand this experience because from an early age, we are taught that wanting space is a problem. Being social is labeled healthy, while being quiet is labeled suspicious. Enjoying solitude is often treated as a sign that something must be missing. Psychology, however, does not support this assumption. Human brains do not respond to stimulation in the same way. Some nervous systems thrive on constant input, conversation, and external energy, while others become overloaded by the same environment. Neither response is wrong. They are simply different biological thresholds. People who like being alone often process the world more deeply. Their attention does not skim the surface. It stays engaged. They notice changes in tone, body language, emotional shifts, and subtle tension that most people ignore. While others enjoy conversations without thinking much about them, these individuals are tracking multiple layers at once. Their brain is continuously interpreting, analyzing, and connecting information. Over time, this depth of processing becomes mentally expensive and requires intentional recovery. This is why social environments can feel draining even when nothing negative is happening. It is not the people, it is the cognitive load. Their brain is working harder in the background even when the interaction seems casual. Monitoring social cues, adjusting responses, and staying emotionally aware all consume mental resources. When the brain works harder for extended periods, it needs recovery, and without recovery, mental fatigue builds quietly and gradually. Solitude provides that recovery. When external demands decrease, the nervous system moves back toward balance. Thoughts slow down and emotional reactions settle. Psychology refers to this process as self-regulation. It is not avoidance, it is maintenance. Just as physical exertion requires rest, mental exertion requires quiet. Without these periods of quiet, even the most capable minds can become strained. Small talk highlights this difference clearly. Small talk serves a social purpose, but it is repetitive and surface level by design. For people who enjoy solitude, these conversations rarely feel rewarding. Their mind searches for meaning, relevance, and depth. When conversation stays on autopilot, their attention disengages. This is not boredom in the usual sense. It is a lack of mental resonance and stimulation at the level they need. They tend to feel more engaged in conversations about ideas, values, experiences, or purpose. Depth activates their curiosity, while superficial exchange does not. This does not mean they lack social skill or emotional awareness. It means their internal reward system responds differently to interaction. When the exchange feels genuine and meaningful, they can be fully present and deeply engaged. Silence, however, does not demand anything from them. Silence does not require impression management or emotional monitoring. In quiet moments, they can replay experiences, process reactions, and understand what they actually feel. Many people process emotions externally by talking through them immediately, while people who prefer being alone often process emotions internally and need time before clarity arrives. That time allows emotions to settle into understanding rather than reaction. Over time, many people who value solitude develop strong personal boundaries. Usually this happens through experience rather than intention. Being constantly available takes energy, and being emotionally present in spaces that do not respect limits creates fatigue. Eventually, they learn that protecting their peace is not selfish but necessary. They stop forcing themselves to stay connected simply to avoid being alone or judged. From the outside, this shift can look like withdrawal or detachment, but internally it is self-respect. It is choosing mental stability over constant engagement and recognizing that energy is finite and must be managed carefully. This selectiveness becomes especially clear in relationships, where people who enjoy being alone often have fewer but more intentional connections built on trust rather than frequency. In my experience, many people who prefer solitude are not socially incapable. In fact, they can be highly aware, articulate, and emotionally intelligent. They simply understand that constant interaction is not the same as meaningful connection. They choose quality over quantity, depth over noise, and calm over constant stimulation, because those choices help them function at their best. Another pattern I have noticed is that solitude gives these individuals space to think long-term. Without constant social pressure, they are more likely to reflect, plan, and evaluate decisions carefully. They pause before agreeing, not out of hesitation, but out of self-awareness. This pause allows them to act intentionally instead of reacting automatically to expectations around them. Stress affects everyone, but recovery strategies differ. Some people regulate stress by talking, venting, or staying socially engaged. Others regulate stress by stepping back. For people who enjoy being alone, reducing stimulation allows the nervous system to reset. Quiet activities like walking, reading, or simply sitting without distraction can restore balance more effectively than conversation. Not all solitude is healthy. Sometimes it begins as protection. After rejection, betrayal, or repeated disappointment, distance can feel safe. In the short term, solitude helps people regain balance. But if solitude becomes a wall that blocks support, intimacy, and growth, it slowly turns into isolation. The difference is internal. Healthy solitude restores clarity and energy, while unhealthy isolation often leads to rumination and emotional dullness. As this pattern continues, something else becomes noticeable over time. People who genuinely enjoy being alone often develop a strong relationship with their own thoughts. They are not constantly running from silence, because silence does not threaten them. Instead, it gives them a space where their mind can move at its natural pace. In that space, they are able to reflect, reassess, and understand themselves with more clarity than they could in a constantly stimulated environment. This ability to sit with oneself is often misunderstood. Many assume that comfort in solitude means emotional distance or lack of need for others. In reality, it usually means emotional stability. These individuals are less likely to depend on constant validation because they are familiar with their inner world. They know what they think, what they value, and what they can tolerate. That familiarity reduces anxiety when external feedback is absent. Another observation is that people who like being alone often communicate differently. They may speak less, but when they do speak, their words tend to be deliberate. They listen more than they talk, not because they have nothing to say, but because they are processing before responding. This can be misinterpreted as disinterest, when it is actually attentiveness. In social situations, they are often observing dynamics rather than participating in every exchange. They notice who dominates conversation, who withdraws, and how moods shift. This awareness can make them cautious about where they invest energy. They are less likely to engage in environments that feel performative, competitive, or emotionally chaotic. When it comes to relationships, this preference for solitude influences how connection is formed. Rather than seeking frequent contact, they look for reliability and emotional consistency. They are comfortable with periods of distance because their sense of connection does not disappear when interaction pauses. This sometimes creates misunderstanding with people who equate closeness with constant availability. I have noticed that conflict is also handled differently. People who enjoy being alone often step back when tension arises. This is not always avoidance. In many cases, it is a way of preventing emotional escalation. They prefer to regulate themselves first, so that when they do address an issue, they can do so calmly and clearly, rather than reactively. This tendency can frustrate others who expect immediate emotional engagement. However, when given time, these individuals often return with thoughtful responses and a clearer understanding of their position. Their approach to conflict is slower, but frequently more stable in the long run. Another important aspect is autonomy. People who like being alone tend to value independence strongly. They feel most comfortable when they have control over their time, energy, and environment. Situations that demand constant emotional access or immediate responsiveness can feel suffocating. When autonomy is respected, they are more open, relaxed, and willing to connect. This does not mean they reject closeness. It means they need closeness that allows breathing room. Relationships that are built on trust rather than surveillance tend to work best for them. When they feel safe to step away without punishment or suspicion, they are more likely to stay emotionally invested. Creativity is another area where solitude often plays a role. Many people who prefer being alone report that their ideas come more easily when they are not interrupted. Solitude allows thoughts to develop fully rather than being cut short by external demands. This uninterrupted mental space supports problem-solving, planning, and original thinking. However, solitude is not meant to replace human connection entirely. Even people who enjoy being alone still need meaningful relationships. The difference is that they need fewer of them, and they need them to be authentic. When connection feels forced or superficial, it drains rather than nourishes. One pattern I have seen repeatedly is that people who prefer solitude often struggle when their needs are invalidated. Being told that they are cold, antisocial, or distant can create self-doubt. Over time, some may begin to question whether their natural rhythm is acceptable. This is where understanding becomes critical. Psychology does not define health as one social style. Well-being depends on alignment between personality, environment, and expectations. When someone is forced to live outside their optimal rhythm for long periods, stress and dissatisfaction increase. When their rhythm is respected, functioning improves. From my own experience, the most balanced individuals who enjoy being alone are those who do not use solitude as an excuse to withdraw permanently. They allow themselves space, but they also allow connection when it matters. They recognize that growth sometimes requires discomfort, and they are willing to step into it selectively. This balance is not always easy. It requires self-awareness, communication, and honesty. It means being able to say, "I need time alone," without guilt, and also being able to say, "I am ready to engage," without fear. When this balance is achieved, solitude becomes a resource rather than a barrier. What ultimately stands out is that liking to be alone is not about rejecting people. It is about understanding one's limits and respecting them. It is about knowing how much stimulation is enough and when it becomes too much. That knowledge allows people to show up in relationships with more patience, clarity, and presence. In a world that often rewards constant availability, choosing solitude can look unusual, but unusual does not mean unhealthy. For many, it is the foundation that allows them to remain emotionally steady in an otherwise overstimulating environment. The people I have observed who thrive the most are those who stop apologizing for their need for space. They explain it when necessary, but they no longer justify it. They understand that respecting their own limits allows them to respect others more genuinely as well. In the end, the psychology of people who like being alone comes down to one central idea: regulation. It is the ability to manage internal states in a way that supports clarity, stability, and meaningful connection. When solitude serves that purpose, it is not something to fear. It is something to use wisely. If you've made it this far, there's a good chance you recognize yourself somewhere in this video. And if you did, I want you to know this: there is nothing broken about the way you function. Some people recharge through noise. Others recharge through quiet. Neither is superior. They're just different. The problem starts when we try to force ourselves into rhythms that don't fit us, and then blame ourselves for feeling exhausted, disconnected, or overwhelmed. Understanding your need for space isn't about pushing people away. It's about learning how to show up without losing yourself. And when solitude is chosen with awareness, not fear, it becomes one of the most powerful tools for clarity, balance, and emotional stability. If this video helped you see yourself or someone in your life a little more clearly, then it did what it was meant to do. If you want more content like this, deep psychology-based explanations of human behavior without exaggeration or noise, make sure you're subscribed. And if there's a topic you want me to break down next, leave it in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.